Hey guys. So that was a good fight, huh, guys? um, Very fun, very entertaining, and very dominant performance by Errol Spence. Um, just the surprise to me was that Mikey Garcia went all 12 rounds. Nothing else about that fight surprised me, except for the fact that Mikey didn't land, but maybe two or three straight right hands the whole fight. I think everything was blocked. Mikey just, he couldn't get into his rhythm. Like we talked about in the film study, if you want to go back and watch any of my film study videos, Mikey just he just doesn't have a lot of the skills, that he needs to be a world-class fighter. I know he's a 4 division champion and like all this stuff, but even his own trainer, says that he's a basic fighter, and Mikey's a basic fighter. As we saw in this fight, he knows how to use lead hand control, but he doesn't know what to do with it. Just like I talked about, Errol Spence was easily able to take it away from him and be the one to get on the outside of the jab. He wasn't able to use that to make Errol Spence put himself out of position so that he could counter, and that's what you want to do with your lead hand dominance, is feint your opponent. You want to control them, and you want to break down the layers of their offense. And even though Errol Spence's layers of his offense were the most basic level for the most part, he was just throwing straight left hands and right hooks and jabs. He wasn't feinting a lot. He didn't have to. He had complete control of the fight, and he was just able to explode out of his guard and land punches on Mikey Garcia. Because again, like what we talked about in the pre-fight build-up, Mikey Garcia is not a counterpuncher. He's very scared to get hit. He doesn't like to punch with his opponents. That's why he didn't knock out Easter Jr. That's why he couldn't knock out Lipinets. Even though those guys, both of them were just perfectly in his wheelhouse for the style of fighter you want to see him fight. And also, some of the criticisms, I want to talk about. When I do film studies, you want to create a likeness. You want to create an understanding. You want to create patterns, and you want to see things that you can recognize to kind of create linear, I'll say like an equation, right? And one of the ones for Phil LaGreco and Mikey Garcia was the lead hand control. Dare I say, Phil LaGreco did better than Mikey Garcia. At least he landed some straight right hands, even though he got knocked out. I know, Phil LaGreco went. He didn't go 12 rounds, but Mikey Garcia, he got thoroughly dominated. And another thing we talked about in the film study, I wanted to talk about. Let's see if we can see any. Again, the lead hand control right there, right in this sequence. Errol Spence is the one controlling. Whoops! Why is it doing that? Oh God. Errol Spence is the one controlling the space with his lead hand. It's because it's in slow-mo. See how he's, even though Mikey Garcia is trying to control the space with his lead hand, Errol Spence is able to time him because Mikey Garcia is very easy to time. He always fights on a single type of timing. And even though he's supposed to be the timing expert, he's only ever fought, very, very basic fighters himself. Mikey Garcia, to be honest, I can't think of a great win that Mikey Garcia has on his entire resume. He hasn't really had to fight anyone. He hasn't had to test himself. Like Dejan Zlaticanin, he gets credit for winning a world title for beating that guy. I don't even know if he got a world title from that fight. I don't know. Lipinets, a guy who had 11 fights or 12 fights, and I think Lipinets is a pretty good fighter, but is he a great fighter? He couldn't even knock him out, and he falls into exactly the kinds of problems that he has exactly this kind of problems that Mikey Garcia should excel at taking advantage of. But Mikey Garcia just showed a lot of holes in his game. He didn't even have a puncher's chance. As I was talking to my coach, he texted me a couple times about the fight, and when we talked about it, I told him I think it's gonna be an ass whooping. I think Garcia is gonna get smashed, and he was really surprised. He used to fight, and he was talking about how it's difficult for the bigger fighter to fight the smaller fighter sometimes because of the speed difference. They just show up and they're just so much faster or so much quicker. And I think that Mikey Garcia was fast, but he didn't know how to set his punches up. And if you watch any of Mikey Garcia's fights, he fights on that same timing. He gets them to step to him. He uses the jab to control the space and make them slowly plod to him and close the distance slowly. And then he just explodes out of his guard with a 1-2 and knocks everyone out. And just like we talked about in the film study, that wasn't going to be effective against Errol Spence. Errol Spence is too experienced. He's seen that tactic before, and he was able to completely shut it down, getting out of the way of almost every single right hand that Mikey Garcia threw. But a great performance from Errol Spence. The only thing that I'm surprised about is that he didn't stop him, and that Mikey didn't land more right hands. But if you notice, I think he started in the 9th round. That's when he really started to put the pressure on and really started to try to take Mikey out. The fight went, it took 9 rounds for it to happen, but Errol Spence started putting the pressure on, walking him down, fighting on the inside. And Mikey Garcia is not an inside fighter, you guys. Just like we talked about in the film study, he doesn't know how to fight on the inside. He doesn't clinch, and he's just going to eat punches. I know a lot of you guys were talking about how Mikey Garcia was not just going to stand there. He was going to punch back. He was going to, what was he going to do? Eat shots, boom, no countering. He's not a counter puncher. That was a kind of a catch and counter style left hook right there, but he's just not a counter-punching style fighter. He doesn't know how to fight on the inside. And the worst part about it is that he doesn't really know how to set his punches up. And like we talked about in the film studies, he has only one style of fighting against the southpaw. And he had no game plan. He had no plan B. He didn't know what to do when the timing didn't work. And he just kind of got smashed. His one trap was waiting for Errol Spence to take lead foot dominance, but Errol didn't even need to step in and close the distance. He could just land his straight left hand at will from the outside, because Mikey Garcia, he has no head movement. He doesn't feint, he doesn't control the space. Once Errol Spence was able to establish lead hand control by countering over the top of Mikey's jab with his own hook, with his own jabs, Mikey Garcia was reduced to, your average club fighter. And again, a lot of the comments, I don't want to talk too much about that stuff, but a fantastic performance from Errol Spence. He really impressed me with his fighting on the outside, actually. I thought that was really great. I thought that it was really interesting that he was so wary of Mikey Garcia in the early rounds, not just going out there and kind of punishing him. To be honest, I kind of expected the fight to possibly be over in the first round. But it was a great fight from Errol Spence. He dominated him. He used the lead hand control to blanket his straight left hand, and he just landed straight left hands to the body. And like we saw in the film study, Mikey Garcia doesn't know how to counterpunch, and he's there for the left hand to the body all night long. He had no answers to it. Yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to say, people lie, feelings lie, but film study never does. You can learn a lot from watching tape, watching it over and over, paying attention, and making sure you know what you're seeing. If you don't know what you're seeing, watch it again. Watch it again. Watch it again. Anyway, I don't want to use too many clips because I don't want this video taken down right away. But fantastic performance from Errol Spence. Hopefully he gets the fight that he's looking for. Maybe he gets to fight Pacquiao. I'm not sure if that's really what he wants, but maybe it is. Maybe, as far as Mikey Garcia, going back down into the lighter weight is definitely a good idea for him. I'm not sure if it's going to be 140, probably, because he probably doesn't want to go to 135. There's an even better fighter waiting there for him, that'll make him, a southpaw that'll make him look even worse. But But yeah, anyway, let me know what you guys think about the fight. Let me know what you guys think about Mikey Garcia. There's been a lot of talk about, people saying, oh, he's got a really high boxing IQ, he's got all this stuff, and, I don't want to talk shit, facts are facts, and I don't want to talk shit about Mikey Garcia, but you can tell, you can see what's going on with him, you can see what he's capable of, you can see what he's not capable of, and he said, he had a great game plan, he executed the game plan very well, and, what was the other thing? The engagements went his way. That's a fascinating phrase too, because it kind of tells you how Mikey Garcia thinks about a fight as these micro engagements. It's very similar to how I think about them, but you have to know when they begin and when they end, and that you don't always get a break. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments below about what you think about Mikey's boxing IQ. If you saw something I didn't, did you think that it was just Errol Spence's size? Did you think that it was his craft? Did you think it was Mikey Garcia's lack of craft? Where do these two ideas meet when you guys think about them? And how do you guys think this affects Mikey Garcia's? How do you guys think it affects his legacy? This wasn't just a one-sided beatdown from Errol Spence, because he was never in this fight. Never even for a second. Even when he landed his straight left hand or straight right hand, he wasn't in the fight. And it wasn't because of size. It wasn't because of speed. And as we saw, Errol Spence was way faster than Garcia. He hit way harder. He was way more technical. He was way sharper. All of those things were in Errol Spence's favor, just like he said. But where do you think that leaves Mikey Garcia's legacy? Do you think that it's tarnished at all? Do you think that this has shown a disparity in his skills and his talent, one that's possibly not repairable? In my opinion, it kind of does. But what are your guys' thoughts? And let me know what you guys think about Errol Spence and where he goes from here. Do you think that he should fight Pacquiao? Do you think he should fight Crawford? Do you think that he should push for the Thurman fight? Thurman's never going to fight him. No, I'm just kidding. I actually think Thurman has a good chance, to be honest. Or Garcia. Do you think Garcia should be the one to step up? Would you guys like to see that fight? I think that would be a good fight. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Even though, I don't think he wants that smoke. But anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'm really excited about this. And for those of you that have stayed, I want you to know, even though, I did the film study on this fight and I picked Errol Spence by complete ass whooping, I was nervous when the fight started. I have respect for Mikey Garcia and his talent, and he is an expert at the things that he's able to do in the ring. So I was nervous about it, especially with how, blatant I was about my pick. But, yeah, anyway, props to Errol Spence, and let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And don't forget to faint before you hit the bell icon to get notified when my videos go live and all that jazz. Thanks, guys.